So our next panel is really going to be more of a high level panel. And we're going to talk about the real estate investment community. We're going to talk about networking. We're going to talk about why it's important to be connected. We're going to talk about, there he is. Is the volume on? Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, there's Jen. I recognize that thumb. All right, so we're having a panel to talk about the real estate investing community. And the reason that this is such an important topic is because the entire real estate investment network community across Canada, it really is one of the foundational pieces of being successful as an investor, because we're not really going to university to learn how to flip houses. You know, we're not going to college and getting a certificate in multifamily investing. Like, if you want to be a successful real estate investor, a successful property owner, the place that you learn how to do it is from your peer group and from your community. And a big part of that, and the reason it's so important, is because this is such a rapidly changing industry that if you want to be current with what's happening in the marketplace, you have to talk to the people that are current in the marketplace. And those people are the ones that are at these events. So it's been a weird go, because at first everybody's super excited to be on Zoom, and then, you know, everybody's getting a little bit zoomed out, and it's just changed the texture of the real estate investment community. So we kind of want to just have a real conversation about how we've been doing during COVID and what we're seeing going forward for the investment community. So Adrian, why don't you introduce our two panelists who are going to be joining us in Edmonton? We've got a couple of really awesome community leaders in Edmonton on the panel.
Perfect, thank you, James. Yeah, so super excited to hear a little bit from these panelists. So number one, Wayne Hillier, he's coming up here. Come on, Wayne. Yeah, so Wayne is the host of Real Estate Investor Dad.
Yeah. Hear those claps for Wayne.
So yeah, Wayne is the host of Real Estate Investor Dad. He's an active investor. He does all kinds of things creative. His last Mogul Mastermind, one of the crazy tips that he gave was, checking your subscription, borrowing your Netflix passwords, and man, I've been saving so much money from your last talk, so I appreciate that. And next is Mr. Barry McGuire. Barry McGuire, the Legal Eagle. So Barry has been practicing real estate law longer than I've been alive, and he's damn good at it. So he just closed the deal for James and I not too long ago, and I got even more gray hair than I could even imagine from that deal. But Barry was our person who got it done for us, so we really appreciate him, and he's a fantastic member on our power team. So I'll pass it off to you, James, on your.
Yes. Awesome. So I'd like to introduce Melanie Robinson. Melanie, come on up. She hosts Mind Power Mondays on the Fearless Investors Forum. She has I just can't even express how impressed I am and how much you've stepped up during COVID and just emerged as a leader in the community and kept people together. You know, Melanie's like the spoke at the center of the wheel that is the real estate investing world. And just the contributions you made to everybody have meant a lot to a lot of people. And I had to have you on this panel just because the contributions you made and the part that you've played in the conversation has been so critical. So we're really thrilled to have you here, Melanie. And next, I'd like to invite up Mr. Cameron Manning himself. We didn't give Melanie a hand. Let's give Melanie and Cam a hand together here. They deserve it. So Cam himself, he hosts a meetup group similar to this one called IPG. And he's one of the top realtors out in Vancouver here. So, you know, he's one of our realtor homies. We collaborate. You know, I've done a lot of business with Cam over the years, and I've got a ton of respect for what he does and how he holds the community together too. So, you know, we really were selective about who we asked to come on this panel, because each and every one of you guys didn't shy away from COVID. You didn't go hide in a cave. You didn't pout. You didn't frown. You didn't lose connection. You used it as an opportunity to increase connection. And that goes for you two guys out there in Edmonton too. I mean, you're really, it's just the way you guys have stepped up. This is a panel of people who really deserve the recognition for stepping up and helping build a stronger community over the course of this whole COVID scenario. So these are perspectives that matter, because you know, being connected and building your network matters. So I'm going to rotate the camera here. I don't want to drop it because it's really fancy. And Eric would be super grumpy if I broke his camera. Okay, so there we go. We've got our 4-person panel. So we'll get the conversation going. And the first question I want to ask is really just share your thoughts about why it's important to be plugged into the community from your own perspective and experience. You know, what has being a part of the real estate investment world done, and what have you learned? Why is it important? How has it inspired you? You know, just tell your story a little bit about this awesome Canada-wide connection that we have. Barry, I'll start with you. I'm going to go right. I'm seeing everybody right to left here. Go ahead, Barry.
Thank you, James. It's great. Always good to be first. You know, I've been at this, as Adrian said, for a while, and you know, I am continually struck by the enthusiasm and the interest and the positive attitude that the folks I hang out with, which is you guys, exhibit in the real estate market. So I really feel that our real estate community has pushed investing in Canada, because we do have a Canada-wide connection. So what we do and how we look at real estate and the win-win attitude that we bring to what we do has really started to push out some of the, you know, the sharpsters and the scammers and the people who are looking just to take advantage in situations, so that there's a much bigger and better community of folks who are trying to do win-win deals, and it's just been inexorably increasing over the years, and I really do feel it right now, even in the middle of COVID. So, you know, I think the what we're all doing is having some great effects Canada-wide.
I love it, and we'll alternate Edmonton and Vancouver. So, Melanie, why don't you go next?
Can everybody hear me?
If you want to unholster the mic, you know, that might be a little easier.
Well, can you hear me? It's all good? Okay. So I would say the importance of the community for me has been, I mean, nothing is fun to do alone. And for the first part of my real estate investing career, I did it on my own, and I almost left because of that, because it felt very lonely, very sort of self-serving, very much not community. I didn't really realize, I mean, I went to networking events, but I didn't look at it as working together and community and where we can lift each other up. So I joined one group that was sort of integral to that. I feel like I'm getting suffocated by my mask. And yeah, it changed everything. So for me, the relationships, lifting each other up, being supportive, sharing, creating win-wins, all of that has made it something that I'm in it for the long haul now. Like, I'm going nowhere. I want to work with everybody, meet people, just share, learn, grow, create together. So that's why I think the community is super, super important.
I love it. Wayne, how about yourself?
Hey James, how's it going?
Awesome, buddy.
You hear your voice, man. I think it's really cool. I miss these live events. I miss networking in person, but all these master classes, online events, Zoom events and stuff, it's actually forcing people to meet new people. I mean, I would have never met anyone in Ontario unless I went to an Ontario networking event or a BC networking event. So forcing us into that social online realm, it actually forced us to meet some new people, create more opportunities. I like it. I've loved everything about COVID except for the whole pandemic. Except for the COVID.
Awesome. And Cam, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I hope everyone can hear me. One of the big things with like the whole being out there networking groups is we all have day jobs. And that's one thing I noticed, that you get excited, you want to invest in real estate, maybe you take some courses, and life happens. So having these communities, having these groups that you can go to, they keep you motivated, they keep you inspired as you hear other people's stories, things like that, to keep moving towards your goals. Because at the end of the day, there's a reason why you started getting the idea to get into real estate. And this is one of those catalysts that keeps you pushing forward that I've noticed. Because again, I was one of those guys. I started taking courses and all these things, got excited, and I went to my day job, and then you get busy, and then you're not looking into things, you're not looking online. So when I got started getting into a monthly group, it allowed me to say, hey, now I see other people doing it. I can ask for help. I can network. I can raise capital. And that allowed me to kind of go through what I've done now for the last 10 years and get to where I am. It was because of a group, right? So I think that's the big thing. It helps you keep you on track for your goals.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed from each and every one of you is that you took the COVID situation as an opportunity to innovate. You took it as an opportunity to step up and increase connectivity, provide something new, provide something exciting. So the next thing I would say, and I have to agree with Wayne, I loved everything about COVID except for the COVID part. that's like my new favorite quote. So my question to you guys is, what did you do to up your game during COVID in terms of being a leader in the community, and how did you find the response of the people that you were working with? Again, Barry, we'll start with you.
Well, it's interesting, James, that COVID has been with us for a while, and what I'm really noticing right now, just generally speaking, is that we've all learned to cope and adapt. I have a mask in every piece of clothing that I own. So, whenever I go anywhere, my hand now reaches automatically for the mask. So, I'm now used to living with COVID, and I'm trying not to let it slow me down or stop me. And in my law practice, we were shut down completely. I moved to the field law firm on April 1st. There's 80 or 90 lawyers in the Edmonton office, and I walked into a completely empty, dark office on April 1st because that was the day they all went home. So I really had to kind of reach out and learn how to get in touch with people. So we use Microsoft Teams, we use Zoom, we use Wayne's special software whenever we're working with him, because he likes it. The Law Society, our governing body, which is a very stodgy conservative group, decided that they had to adapt to COVID, and so we're allowed to meet people in Zoom meetings as if we were in the same room with them. And it's not quite as slick as realtors with DocuSign, but it's still pretty good. So I've done a whole whack of deals with people in Ontario. They don't have to go see their Ontario lawyer and pay $400 to sign some documents. They get to do it with me in Edmonton, doing a virtual Zoom meeting, and there's been some special stuff. So there's been adaptations in my end of the game to how things work, which actually are advantageous. And I hope when COVID is over, they don't take away our ability to do this, because it's been great in certain circumstances. So really, since March we're into this, we're over a half a year into it. I'm kind of getting used to it. I don't really like it a whole bunch, but there's some restaurants I go to. My practice is running pretty well. I've got some extra advantages I didn't have before. And I'm trying to do what I always do, which is have a hugely positive attitude of whatever is showing up in my life. And the stuff you can't do anything about, well, why worry about it? The stuff you can do something about, work hard on that and keep going. So I'm kind of COVID okay right now.
I love it. And Melanie, I can't wait to hear from you on your answer to this question, because you did a lot of really innovative things over COVID to stay connected and utilizing the technology. So maybe tell us your story about what you started doing differently over COVID and how you found people reacted to it.
It's funny that you noticed all the things I've done, because I just kind of did things spontaneously as they came. Like, there was no big master plan in it all, but I definitely feel like I stepped up to up to my game, so to speak, when COVID hit. In the very beginning, it's kind of like you have that moment of, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I very quickly, again, not well thought out at all, so I can't take credit for like some big master plan, but I just decided to do a post or a few posts saying like, let's connect. I didn't know how to use Zoom, didn't know how to use Calendly, didn't know how to sync them, didn't know how to do any of that. because I think pre-COVID, I didn't work at connecting with people outside of my little world. I would go to IPG, I would go to, you know, the different networking events, RAIN, and I stayed very small in who I connected with. For some reason, I decided to, you know, say, let's connect on Zoom. And I had like this crazy outreaching of people scheduling Zooms with me. I mean, I ended up having to like stop the calendar because I opened up a Calendly thing. And I mean, people just filled my days with Zooms. Well, I met people all across Canada, built relationships with people that I have great connections with now. So that was one of the things, again, not thought out, but was huge for me. And now my community is literally expanded all the way across Canada. It's unbelievable the people that I connect with on a daily basis. So it started with that. I mean, I do the Mind Power Mondays on the Fearless page, so that has given me an incredible opportunity to connect with people, you know, and really support people through COVID. Like, how lucky am I that I get to take one of my passions, which is the mind and utilizing the power of your mind, and support investors in getting through a super challenging time. So Mind Power Monday has had another big impact. I did a Zoom with my non-real estate investor friends. So again, spontaneous, not well thought out. It wasn't like I'm some amazingly smart person, but I just decided, hey, you know, what if I just invited my non-investor friends to hop on a Zoom and explain to them what I'm doing? And I had all these people like, yeah, I'm in. I'm like, oh crap, now that means I got to do something. So I had to create a PowerPoint, or I chose to create a PowerPoint presentation and highlight all the things that I'm doing in the real estate investing world, private lending, explain it all to people who didn't know anything about it. So yeah, so those are the types of things that I did over these past few months. And again, like Wayne said, I love what's happened with COVID, other than the COVID part. Like, I've connected with so many people. It's incredible. So
I love it. Yeah, and Wayne, I want to hear from you because your real estate podcast is just awesome. You know, your guests have been incredible, and I've been watching what you and your wife have been creating over the COVID, and it's just taking off. So, tell us your story a little bit, and tell us what you've been up to and how people have been responding to it.
I completely agree with you. A lot of opportunities were built out of COVID, and in my opinion, it's kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, because for the longest time, if you had something you wanted to say or share, you always had to be on the stage, right? And COVID took away the stage, and like now the stage is right here, it's on your phone, right? Like I can literally, and I pressed it. I can literally go live right now. Like I can just, it's that simple. I just click on the button and now I'm live. It's super simple. And there's like 50 people in this room, and in the matter of an hour, I'll reach another 150 on my phone. That's what I mean by opportunity. Like, everyone had to get off the stage because the stage wasn't available, and now everyone's on the phone, and you have an equal opportunity to get everyone's attention. And like, if I have a message to say right now, I say my message, and people can see it, right? You want to start a podcast? Start a podcast. So I think it's pretty cool that the opportunity is there for anyone. It's just we're all super scared. Like, even for me, I didn't like going on video, but COVID kind of forced me to, and I don't regret it. I don't regret building an audience now, and people come to you. There's just so many opportunities that are available now because of the fact that it's a success.
I love it. And Cam, I know I've logged into a couple of IPGs on Zoom. How have you found keeping your community connected?
Well, I think for the big thing, when we did live events, we were only set to who was local, right? Speakers as well as participants. And so one of the nice things that COVID changed for us was going online. We actually expanded it across Canada. So we've got people tuning in, and I feel sorry for them because it's like 10 o'clock at night for them, but they're still doing it from Toronto, from the Maritimes. We had several people join in from the States, as well as we're bringing speakers in from across Canada now, versus I didn't have that when I said you had to be on stage and talk to the group. So we're bringing in new perspectives. We're bringing in people from Toronto talking about that market because it's very similar to Vancouver. So we're paralleling it. We're bringing in people from Edmonton. We're bringing in people from the States. So all these new perspectives that we weren't able to bring before are now accessible to us because of the shift we had to do through COVID. So that's been a big one for us.
I love it. And I'm going to build on that question and bounce it back to Melanie, because you know, I hear sometimes that people are just getting zoomed out. You know, there's a lot going on the other side of the screen, and some people, just especially with the stress of COVID, their perspective is just looking at the disadvantages of it instead of seeing the advantages of it. So, you know, Melanie, from just a mindset perspective, let's talk about the positives of using this situation to up your game as opposed to, you know, like how do you get out over the Zoom blues, or how would you recommend people look at the positive of how to use this technology?
Well, what I would say to that from a mindset, mind power perspective is, I mean, the first thing when you say everybody's getting zoomed out, it's like, stop saying that, because it is what it is. We're in this world, and I don't mean you stop saying that. I mean, people.
Sorry.
No. I mean, like all of us. It's this the self-talk. Whatever we choose to think about it is how we're going to feel. And so, if we decide to focus on the fact that we're zoomed out, because the reality is we can all go there. I can go there too. But if I think about being zoomed out, all that does is put me in a state of feeling sort of defeated, not motivated, and down, and not in any kind of thriving, action-taking mood or mode. So, you know, it's paying attention to, does this serve me? Is this getting me closer to where I want to go or not? The thought process. And if thinking, you know, I'm zoomed out, if you want to keep thinking that way, you're going to feel pretty crappy about hopping on Zoom and connecting with people. If you want to take advantage or do the best within the situation as we have it, you got to think about it in a way that's going to support you in achieving your results. So Zoom is the way of the world right now. So stop thinking that way. Start thinking about the benefits. Start thinking about the opportunities. Start connecting with people. Get excited about what is actually happening right now, which is we live in a pretty Zoom world. So that's you know, it's like we got to stop thinking that way if we want to thrive in this environment.
I love that piece. And you know, I think that's going to be a good segue into Barry, because Barry, you know, you've taken your unbelievably successful workshops and segued them into unbelievably successful online workshops. So what are some of the things that you found you were doing with your attendees to keep that focus and that engagement and to keep it fun when, you know, you don't have that in-person energy?
You know, James, that was something that scared the heck out of me. So we do great live focus workshops, and the thought of going online to do them really scared me, because you know, the hands-on, the face-to-face, the tables full of people that are next to each other and talking and networking. I mean, I really kind of thought that was the only way to do it, and that doing an online focus workshop would, you know, just wouldn't really measure up. So I was quite afraid of the transition. But what really helped was I got to participate in other folks' online events, and got to see how they did it, including yours, James. I'm a student of how you present your events, because I think you do a good job, and your Zoom events work out pretty well. So I got involved in 2 or 3 events that other people were putting on. I went, you know, we can do this. So then I went back to the focus workshops and tried to pick up the things that work really well on a live basis, and could we translate those into a Zoom event? And so one thing that worked really, really well live is role playing. Role playing is a big favorite with my students. And so as we were working to put together our first live event, focus team leaders, including Wayne, really, they upped their game. So we worked out scenarios that focus team leaders could play. Wayne in one was the poor, harassed. Oh, the battery's running low on our computer. Is it not plugged in? Oh my God, we're losing you, James. No, I guess you're still in. So in one role-playing scenario, Wayne was the poor, benighted homeowner. He was the guy who was in big trouble, and one of the other focus team leaders pitched in as the investor who got in touch with Wayne. And that worked incredibly well. Oh, it's not plugged in. Aha. The computer was not plugged in. There we go. There we go. And so what happened is that the actor, the ham in all our football team leaders came right out. Wayne was, I think he managed to tear up a couple of times. It looked like he looked like he was just going to break down in complete agony about his bad situation. And that really struck a chord with all the people that were watching. So we are finding ways to make the Zoom events, the virtual events, as good at or even better than the live events. So I was so afraid that it wasn't going to work and it would be a pale imitation of the live event, but now I know that you can do really good virtual events, and we're planning more. So I'm pretty enthusiastic about it now.
I love it. And Cam, I'm gonna transition over to you next, because you really adopted a lot of technology for connectivity. My niece tells me your TikToks are incredible. And your social media game is actually super on point. So, what have you found with using a lot of different social media and connectivity technologies? Like, how do you take something that intimidates some people? Because I talk to a lot of people that say, oh, I'm just not a social media, or I'm not a Facebook, or I'm not a, just like Melanie was touching on, they create a narrative that they're not blank. Mm-hmm. But the reality of the situation is that if you're not that, you're not connected right now. So what are you doing to engage your people and help shift that narrative so that they become more connected with you?
Yeah, I mean, just by leading by example. I've always been, for the last few years, kind of heavy with social media and things like that. But I got into TikTok before COVID hit, but it was really through COVID that gave me more time to really kind of get into it and create videos. And for me, it's about like showing the fun side, because again, there's a lot of negativity out there, and especially at the beginning, I mean, the media was just hammering the negative side of things. And so this was an outlet for me to have some fun, but also show other people that you can have fun with it. You don't have to take yourself seriously. And everyone's like, well, it's just for like teenagers. And I'm like, well, hey, if it's just for teenagers, good, that's great. But everyone said that about Instagram, right? And now look at Instagram, right? So using social media was a way that I could lead by example and show different ways that you can just get out there, engage, have fun, and not take yourself so seriously. Because at the end of the day, everyone else is worried about everything. Why not just create something that you're happy with and make someone else laugh? And I mean, even just in this room today, I had someone come up to me and says, hey, I heard you're on TikTok. Can I follow you? I'm like, yeah, sure. Here's my handle, right? Like, check it out. And even just this morning, I thought, hey, why not like promote this event by creating a TikTok? So I took a very popular trend and, created a thing of me changing into my suit like super fast just to have some fun. Say, hey, I'm ready for a Mogul Mastermind. Come and join me, right? And same thing, Wayne's got an amazing podcast, but I've been doing a little podcasting here and there. And just through COVID, I decided I picked 6 people that I wanted to interview. Melanie actually was one of them. And I said, here's my Corona Chronicles, how you can like level up during Corona. So we were giving different strategies and advice and different things like that. So again, utilizing the platforms that are out there to create something to help people out versus using it to spread the fear and everything else that, we're seeing CMHC saying this and, Global says that. Put something out there that people will laugh and just kind of like, okay, it's not as bad. We can still move on and keep doing stuff. So.
Yeah, I love that point. I'm sure Dave Dubois is listening and just smiling with approval, because, when it comes to marketing and putting it out there, like, you want people to know what you're up to, and it keeps connected. I mean, I gave you a little bit of a tease about your TikToks, but I watch them. I mean, it's not just my niece. I'm subscribed to, and I think they're great. They do crack me up, and it just creates that conversation. I mean, it was a conversation starter when you're in person, and I personally, even before COVID, I put a lot of social media content out there too, and it's the conversation starter. Even for me, like I noticed that I'd be at a live in-person event and somebody would say, even today, like I put a bunch of content out when I was in Whistler, and people have, like, a lot of you have been asking me, what was it like in Whistler? That was a social media to real world crossover. So you're experiencing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And, Wayne, one of the things that I really like about what you do is, I've been a guest on your podcast. I've been on Zoom calls with you, and you have a really awesome way of being very interesting and engaging when you talk to people through social media channels. So I actually want to just ask, like, you know, if maybe it's not a secret, but what do you do to get yourself ready for and make those conversations so engaging? Because some people, they dread being on the other side of a camera. And even at the beginning of the conversation, you said, you know, you weren't particularly keen about seeing your picture in your camera when you were holding it in your face. So what did you do to get over the hump? And, you know, it's almost like you've had exponential growth being shy about it to being a master at it.
Well, interviewing is a lot easier than being interviewed. I'll say that for sure. Been in a couple podcasts, and I feel like I don't have enough to say. But practice, like it's not easy at first, but practice will make perfect. As far as getting prepped for interviews, I mean, I just try and keep it as conversational as possible. You want to make it relatable. When you're creating content, whether that be on social media or on the podcast, it's all about adding value to the people that are listening. And in a lot of cases, it's not about asking 12 questions in the interview. It's about having a conversation. I mean, for me, when I was first starting out, if I could just be beside those two people and listen to what they're talking about, that'd be extremely valuable. And that's the atmosphere that I like to try and create. I like to make it relatable. I like people coming up to me like, oh, I was listening to that conversation, those things that you guys were talking about. It's amazing. That's ultimately what I'm trying to create.
Love it. And you know what? I'm going to bounce back over to Melanie, because one of the things you did is you started inviting people to have those conversations with you. Maybe they're about real estate, maybe they're not. But for people that want to follow in those footsteps, let's get a little more granular about, like, what did you talk to people about? Did you have an agenda? Was the conversation free-flowing? You know, for the people who are here in this room, maybe you're networking and inviting people to have Zoom meetings instead of having that coffee in person. So, you know, what used to be, oh, we should grab coffee sometime, has kind of turned into, let's have a Zoom meeting sometime. So it's, you know, what do those conversations look like? Let's talk about just like getting into the business of networking.
So I'm not sure that this is the same for everybody, but it's funny, when Wayne was talking, in my mind, I was thinking one of the things for me is that I always really do come from a place of wanting to be of service. So whenever I'm doing a live, whenever I'm on a Zoom, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's with a potential partner or whether it's, you know, doing a Mind Power Monday or a coffee date on Zoom. I truly approach coming here tonight, like everywhere I go, I actually, this is going to make me sound really weird, but I actually try to like connect with the audience beforehand, or the person that I'm going to be having a conversation with, so that as I enter that conversation, I'm thinking about how can I be of service to that person? What is it, you know, I'm approaching it from that service place. So I actually, honestly, every time I'm going to interact with somebody, every time I'm going to be interviewed, every time I do a live, every time I do a post, I actually take a moment, and this is the weirdo part, and I actually close my eyes and I imagine who's on the other side of it, who's on the receiving side, so that as I deliver whatever it is that I'm delivering, or as I'm having that conversation, I'm actually coming from a place of being of service to that person. It's not about self-serving, like I want to say this. It's who's on the other end, and how can I be of service to that person in some way. So I don't know that that's helpful, but
I love it. I love it. Now I'm gonna take this moment to just pivot the conversation a little bit, because, you know, COVID isn't going to last forever, hopefully, probably, most likely. And the world has been changed forever because of it. And, you know, Barry, I want to start with you, because you've just had such wild success with your online webinars. What do you think the future of in-person events like this are? I mean, you know, we're just giving it a go. We're doing a blended in-person Zoom meeting just as something a little bit different. But what's your take on the way that you want to help people connect going forward, maybe over the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, pre-COVID, had you had to ask this question, I'd say, Barry, you know, theoretically, what if some pandemic stopped us from being able to meet live, and, you know, what do you think that would be? I mean, I don't think I have the imagination to foresee how this would have developed, but, you know, when we get a vaccine and life goes back to normal, because that will happen sooner or later, I mean, I think we're going to carry on with more virtual events than we would have done before. I really do. Live events will come back, but they're not going to come back and kick virtual off the stage, as it were. So, I mean, I do think, as you said, James, the world is changed forever, and post-COVID, it's going to be a mixture of what we did before, what we learned during COVID, and probably the way things are going, there's going to be 3 or 4 new technologies that will help us connect better moving forward. So I think it's going to be a big mashup once we're out of COVID.
Wayne, I'm gonna next, because you're actually hosting a weekend workshop coming up. So, you know, that's the kind of thing that we saw a lot before COVID, but what considerations did you take into place when you started getting prepped for that event?
I'm not sure. Who were you asking there, James?
That was to Wayne for your upcoming retreat. What did you plan differently that you know is something that came in as a result of COVID that may have been different when you would have planned it a year ago?
Yeah, I did plan that retreat a year ago, right before COVID. It was planned for the summer, and I had to put it off, and that really bummed me out. But as rules are starting to change, I just realized that I just can't wait forever. I think there's a lot of value in that retreat, so that's why I just decided to hold it in November. Preparations, I mean, it's going to be difficult. You know, you're going to want to separate food. You're going to want to make sure that everyone's hand sanitizing. We had to cap out how many people we can have at the retreat. I'm still doing my research as to how this can be done, but I think it needed to be done. I think that I was getting a little tired of doing online events, and I think that people needed a fully immersive, weekend with connection. I don't think that we can get that same kind of connection through Zoom. So.
Well, and I mean, obviously we're more so in the same school of thought on that, Wayne, because we're dabbling in connection too. So I want to hear from your opinion, Cam. I mean, you host arguably one of the most successful real estate meetups in the entire greater Vancouver area. Are you guys planning on sticking on Zoom for a long time, or what do you think the future of in-person events is looking like?
You know, we've had a lot of conversation on our team about this, and actually that's why I was excited to be here today, so I can see what you guys do, so I can take what works, take what and improve. But yeah, no, definitely we are definitely looking at what we can do to get back to live events, because I do have a lot of comments that come in, the emails come in. Man, that was a great meeting, great content. I really wish I could have saw some people and talked to them afterwards, because that's the hard part about hosting these large events with 50, 60 people on Zoom, is there's not a lot of talking and networking afterwards. It can be a little more difficult, and people are definitely missing that aspect. I mean, back in the day when we were doing it live, I would cater the events, I'd have wine, like we'd make it an event when you came out. So people are missing that aspect. So we're looking to it. Our next event's still going to be on Zoom, but we've been talking about on our team, how are we going to do a mixture like this, live, in person, limited, and then still Zoom. And I think honestly going beyond will always be a mixture, because we've now expanded it across Canada. Again, we've got people joining us from all over. Why would we go back to just 100% in person if we're allowed and cut all of them out? So there's always going to be a blend now for sure going forward.
Yeah, I'd say I've observed the same thing. I mean, I think the blend is going to be really heading forward into the new normal. And Melanie, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, because I'd say you've just been so successful taking that one-to-one networking experience online, that where do you see, the Zoom versus the coffee, for example? Like where do you see things headed in that direction?
I don't know where I see them headed, because I don't have that crystal ball we all want, but I can tell you when I can go for coffee, I will go for coffee. I mean, I'm all about the human connection. My only thought process in it is to embrace whatever is, and when we can't do coffee, do what we need to do to feel good about the Zooms. Taking advantage of, like you were saying, why would I go back to only now staying in my little tiny network of the people who are living in the Lower Mainland, when now I've recognized the power of being able to connect with people all across the country and beyond. So exactly. So I definitely will continue the Zooms, but there is nothing like human connection. It's just you've got to accept what is, and then embrace it and do your best with it. So.
Well, I appreciate that comment, and I'm hearing a common theme across the whole panel, and of which I'm of the consensus, where it's important to make the best of the situation. Don't become an isolated hermit. Use technology for connection, but I mean, Wayne, you said it. Melanie, you said it. Cam, you said it. I'm saying it. Barry's saying it. Like, human connection is pretty awesome. Having that face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball, energetic connection with another person is great. And it's exciting to see that we're all craving it. But I think a really important takeaway from everybody on the panel is don't do nothing because you can't meet in person. There's a whole lot of something that you can do while COVID is working itself out. And that's a huge takeaway. And that's why I really wanted to have you guys with your inspiring stories, because you guys did a whole lot of the opposite of nothing. You guys did a lot of something over COVID, and you not only made the best of it, but you led by example, which is really awesome. So, as we kind of hit time, I'd love to just get kind of a parting thought. Like, as we process what we were calling in the last panel phase 1 of COVID, as we head into phase 2 of COVID, how would you recommend to people, and what advice would you give people on how to stay connected to your community, tap into it, and utilize the best parts of it to stay inspired and focused as a real estate investor? And Barry, we'll start with you.
Thanks, James. Yes, Wayne, I turned it on. Every time Wayne has the mic, he turns it off and hands it to me. But I'm technologically on it. I think that COVID or not, some of the basic principles apply. And the fundamentals, I think, as Tyler said in the last panel. So there are some fabulous opportunities out there. This week, I helped 3 different clients, all investors, sign up on mortgages where their interest rates were 1.67, 1.79, and 1.99, all 5-year mortgages. So slightly different between various lenders. But my goodness, folks, that's free money. That's free money. So that's number 1. It's a great time to be borrowing, for sure. The second thing is that other panelists have said this, there are always opportunities. There are always opportunities. And there are more opportunities in COVID times than there were before. So don't think that there's nothing out there, because there is lots out there. And the third thing, I think, is that I always used to think that as a real estate investment lawyer that touches so many networking groups and has so many connections, that I would have clients fighting over property. So Wayne and Adrian would be competing for the same property. But that rarely happens. So what that means to me is not only are there always opportunities, there are lots of opportunities. So don't let COVID slow you down. Low interest rates, lots of opportunities out there. I mean, go out there and take advantage of COVID. That's what I say.
I love it, Barry. And Melanie, what are your parting thoughts on what the best things to do heading into phase 2 are?
I would say stay connected with your goals. Like, this is your life. You have huge goals. All of us who are in real estate investing, we're wanting to do something a little different than the norm. We've got some big dreams, some big goals, really important whys that we're doing this in the first place. So stay connected with that, and don't let anything stop you. Not COVID, nothing else. It's like you keep your eye on the goal, keep your eye on the goal, keep your eye on the goal, and then do what it takes to get there. And that's going to evolve and change. You need to be flexible, and you need to be willing to adapt COVID or anything else that might happen, because we can't control what's going on outside of us. The only thing we can control is ourselves. So you got to go for it, and you got to keep your eye on the goal.
I love it. I love that focused mentality. And speaking of staying connected, Jen, if you wouldn't mind, as we start to head towards conclusion, just putting the contact information of all of our panelists into the chat window so that people can just do that, stay connected. Wayne, what do you think?
To go back to the social media side, I think there's a huge value in building a brand online. And Cam got recognized by someone younger, right, for a TikTok video, and Melanie is recognized by everyone for her Mindset Mondays. Everyone knows Barry. But I was just saying here in the room earlier during the networking thing, I actually hate networking. I hate going up to people. So what I do is I put this little logo on my shirt so people come up to me. There's a lot of value in that. Like, it's hard to approach people. Be surprised when you really put yourself out there, the opportunities that are created. I mean, lots of people come up to me with deals now. I mean, I don't know if they would have done that had I not, invested the time into, building a brand. So I highly recommend that. I mean, I don't think that's ever going away, but right now, as we're all connected online, I think it's pretty easy.
With Cam and Wayne, you give me a bit of an idea here, Wayne, and Cam, I think you're going to be all for it. And it's the point is, if you put it out there, the things that come back are incredible. So I'm going to give everybody permission. I know at a networking event before, it's like, turn your ringer off, hide your phone, and I'll kill you if it goes off. But if anybody who wants to put that social media moment out there, get your phone out. I'm going to do it too. And if you want to take a quick post, do a TikTok, do a Facebook live story, do a Insta story, don't be shy. Just take a snap. I mean, this is a pretty cool shot right here of our two-city panel. Look at that. The panelists are taking the selfies, which I love. So take the social media moment. And Cam, why don't you talk about some of your strategies for taking the perfect selfie and posting it on Facebook Live?
It's all about angles, man.
And when you guys post, don't be shy about tagging at Mogul, MOGULRG. So this is your social media moment. And, Cam, talk about what happens. I mean, you told your story about how somebody came up to you and said, I saw your TikTok. Wayne, just like your shirt serves that purpose in person, we're all here to build a business. We're all here to do maybe our next joint venture. We're all here to attract an agreement for sale. We're all here to have our neighbor come up to us and say, hey, my grandma is selling her place, and I saw that you're a real estate person. Those conversations don't happen if you don't put it out there. So this is your opportunity. Like, when we're talking about blending real life and technology, when you're doing a real estate thing, answer the question, what am I doing right now? That's one of my favorite ways to stay on top of social media is instead of trying to be a genius, instead of trying to be creative, instead of trying to have a high production value, just answer the question, what am I doing right now? Take the camera and snap a picture and answer the question, what am I doing right now? I'm at a really cool real estate networking event. Snap the picture right now. Like, if you're looking at properties on realtor.ca, take a picture. Analyzing deals on realtor.ca. My tip, so I'm stealing your thunder, Cam, so I want to hear your tip. But my tip for social media is the easiest thing to do in social media is just answer one simple question. What am I doing right now? Even if the answer is like, taking my dog for a walk to unwind from a hard day of real estate investing, you're still starting the conversation about real estate investing. So, putting jam on my toast because that gives me energy for a long day of real estate investing.
Yeah.
Now I'm being a little facetious, but like, if you want to master the art of social media, start by answering the question quite literally, what am I doing right now? So Cam, I'm going to give you a parting thought. I'll give you the floor to say, like, what is it that you are going to recommend people do to be as successful as possible heading into phase 2 of COVID?
Well, it's funny because as I was thinking about what I was going to say, you just basically hit all the points. Like
oh, come on. I'm sorry, Cam.
But, honestly, to kind of parallel a lot what Wayne said and what you just said, the big thing is just to get doing it. Just start doing it. And here's the tip. You're going to suck the first few times. You do a video on TikTok. If you go and take a look at mine, you go deep into my original ones, I maybe have like 20 hits, and honestly, they're the worst thing you'll ever see on the app. But you know what? It's consistency from there. You just keep trying and switching up what you're doing. And the other big thing is, and I fell into this trap, and Wayne, I don't know about yourself, but I started just buying all the equipment only to realize that now, as I'm doing most of my social media, this is the most powerful tool to connect with people. You don't need to have the fancy cameras, microphones. This will do it all for you. And again, you can go live on this thing. You can shoot a quick video and upload it, photos. So again, just utilize the tool that's in your hand. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room does have one. And just start uploading it. And don't be afraid of the comments, because 90% of the people on your social media won't see it anyways with the algorithms. So that's why you just need to keep doing it. So
yeah, consistency is key. The thing I always tell people who are shy about social media is it's a lot like a wedding speech. People are going to forget you did it real quick.
Yep.
So, a lot of people will stress about drafting the perfect best man speech, and half of the people are too drunk to pay attention. and everybody else will be like, oh, it's funny. Okay, on with the next one. So it's better to do it than to not do it. Consistency is key. And if one of them doesn't work out,
So what next?
it's gone in a week or two, and just keep doing the same thing. So, I really just want to circle back to express gratitude for these panelists, not just for showing up today and being on the panel. Thanks in Edmonton, thanks in Vancouver, but just gratitude on behalf of us at Mogul, who are active participants in this real estate community, for leading by example. It's easy to walk the walk. It's easy to it's easy to talk the talk, and say, oh, do this, do that. But you guys didn't tell people what to do. You showed them what to do. And that to me speaks volumes to your character, and it speaks volumes to why the real estate investment community is so important and to what it can do for you. The reason we're here, the reason we come out to events like this, the reason we talk about real estate is really because real estate's one heck of an asset. It's a very powerful wealth generator. It can set you and your family up for generations of a better life. But like I said at the start of this meeting, you don't go to college to get a degree in this. There's no university course in this. It's all about learning from your peers, and it's all about supporting your peers. And one of the hardest parts about it is just gosh darn doing it. And it's a lot easier to do it when you've got great people like this showing you the way. So let's give a Vancouver/Edmonton round of applause for our expert panel to show our appreciation for them. And if you guys want to grab your seats, I'll get Adrian back on stage so we can wrap it up. Guys, thanks for coming out. I know it's a weird time. It is. I'm going to switch the camera back to me here so we don't just look at empty chairs. It's a weird time. COVID was a weird time. For those of you who were more comfortable watching from home, thanks for tuning in. For those of you who were feeling brave and came out with masks, thanks for coming out. We're going to keep doing this. We've been doing Mogul Mastermind for 5 years. It's obviously new to Vancouver, not so new in Edmonton, but getting together, sharing ideas, and inspiring each other and learning from the best. That's been around a heck of a lot longer than any of us, and it's going to keep happening. But the only way to get benefit from it is to actually just show up and participate. So big appreciation to you guys and gratitude for being participants. And Adrian, why don't you take us home?
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. And I can say from Edmonton, it was a fantastic turnout. It was a great event. So we're looking forward to many more of these. And we have a lot of snacks left, guys. So if you want to stick around and network, we are an hour ahead of Vancouver right now. So we're going to be out of this venue by 10 o'clock. So about 15, 20 minutes if you want to stick around and have a final conversation with somebody that you've met. Next Mogul Mastermind, James, just to confirm, last Wednesday of the month?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So I believe that's October 28th. So who knows? Maybe we'll do a Halloween theme, and if you don't come with a costume on, you gotta pay $20. I don't know. Do something fun. But thank you so much for sticking around, guys, and have an awesome night.
Thanks, Adrian. And thanks to everybody. Stay networking, stay connected, and stay inspired.